Hi there. My name is Miss Heather and this is Bible Blast. It is so good to see you today because for the first time ever, we have supplies for you to use while you're watching Bible Blast. So hopefully you had a chance to pick those up. And if you didn't, that's okay because you may have some of the same similar supplies at home already. But before we get started, there's one very important thing that I need, and that is my Bible Blast headband. And I'm just gonna slip that on right now. And this headband helps me to remember that learning the Bible is what some may say, a blast. The second thing I wanted to show you is inside your supplies, you should have something that looks something like this. And it's got the number 26 on it. And what this is supplies for you to make a Bible Blast sign. So what you would do, you would write on your sign something like, learning the Bible is a blast, or you could write Bible Blast is awesome, or something along those lines. And then you can decorate it with the stickers that come with it. And then you hang it somewhere in your house as a reminder to watch Bible Blast every single week. And then the other thing that you need to get out of your supply box is this. And this is our Old Testament, New Testament poster. And for the next few weeks, we are going to be reading a lot of stories out of the Old Testament. So as you can see, there's lots of fun stuff you can do on here. You can color, there's places for you to draw pictures. But one of the main things I want you to do is keep track of how many stories we read from all of these different books of the Bible. We may not get to all of them, but every time we do read a story from one of these books, I want you to color it in with a marker. And this week, we're learning the story of Rahab. And the story of Rahab happens in the book of Joshua. So Joshua is right there. So I'm going to use my marker and I'm going to color that in so that I know that I've read a story from the book of Joshua. And if you want, you can also go back and watch other episodes of Bible Blast and see what stories we read and then color in those books of the Bible as well. But for now, let's learn more about the story of Rahab.
Hi, I'm Mr. Daniel.
Hi, I'm Yuke.
And we are on top of a very tall playground near our house. Do you have any tall playgrounds near your house? We're up here because we are thinking about being on top of the tall walls of Jericho, very high up in the air. We have a song about Jericho and about Joshua. Let's sing together. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. Right to the walls of Jericho they marched with spears in hand. Come blow them ram horns, Joshua cried, 'cause the battle is in my hands. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. Then the ram sheep horns began to blow, and the trumpets began to sound. He told them all to shout aloud, and the walls came tumbling down. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. And the walls came tumbling down.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to sing a song about marching, kind of like how Joshua and the Israelites had to march all the way around Jericho. Let's march together. Ready?
Yeah.
I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. I may never fly o'er the enemy, 'cause I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir! I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir! I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir! I may never march in the infantry, 'cause I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir!
A Bible story about Rahab, an unexpected hero. As she grew up, Rahab began spending time with people who didn't love her and who treated her poorly. She made a lot of bad choices. Rahab wanted desperately to change her life. One day, from her home deep in the city wall, Rahab spotted two young travelers. They looked like Israelites, she said. Everyone in Jericho was talking about the people of Israel. Their God loved them and did mighty miracles, like parting the Red Sea and leading them to a new land. Rahab wondered, could the God of the Israelites love me too? Suddenly, the two men were at her door. She peeked out. "Tell me honestly, are you Israelites?" she asked. The strangers wondered whether to trust Rahab. The taller man nodded. "Yes, God told us this land will be ours, and we are here to explore it," he whispered. Rahab knew the king of Jericho would not be pleased the Israelites were staying in the city, and he would want to capture them. Taking a deep breath, Rahab made a big decision, one that would change her life. "Come quickly," Rahab pulled them into the house. She scanned the room for places to hide, behind water jars, under blankets piled for sleeping, in the storage room. Then she spied the ladder to the roof. No one will look here, Rahab thought. She led the spies through the roof's trapdoor and hid them under flax laid out to dry. But Rahab wasn't the only one who had seen the spies. The king of Jericho knew the two Israelites had stopped at Rahab's house, and they weren't welcome here. The king sent his messenger to Rahab's door. "Where are the two men who entered your home?" the king's messenger bellowed. With her heart beating fast, Rahab had to choose. Who would she help? The evil king or the people of God? The Israelites' God is bigger than the king of Jericho and his armies. God is the one I must follow. Though scared, Rahab knew protecting the Israelites was the right thing to do, and that gave her great courage. The men were here, "But left when it grew dark," she answered the king's messenger. "Chase them down. You can catch them." Following winding streets, the messenger and his troops ran out of the city in search of the two men. Clang! The king shut the city gate after the troops. The only way to enter or leave Jericho was through that gate. The spies were trapped inside Jericho. Though Rahab didn't know the God of the Israelites, she needed help. Would God listen to Rahab? She began to pray, "God, I know you're real. Help me break these two men free from Jericho's great wall." And God listened to Rahab. Suddenly, in the corner of the room, she noticed a red rope. She had an idea. Grabbing the coil of the rope, she climbed the ladder to the roof where the men were hiding. "The king of Jericho has barred the gate, and you're locked in the city," she said quickly. "But your God is bigger than the king and has given me a plan." Unrolling the scarlet rope, she hung it outside her window. "Climb down and escape," she said. "But first promise me that when you and the Israelites return to take over Jericho, you will care for my family." They agreed. "Keep this rope in the window," the spies said. "That way we will recognize your house and your family will be saved." And with that, they were gone. Sometime later, the Israelite army surrounded the city of Jericho. They marched around its thick wall once a day for 6 days. On the 7th day, God told the Israelites to march around the city 7 times. During the 7th time, they blew horns and shouted at the top of their lungs. Inside the wall, Rahab covered her ears. The noise was so loud. Crack, pop, boom. The God of the Israelites was causing the city's wall to fall. As the wall collapsed around them, Rahab and her family ducked in a corner. Silence came over the household. The candles had blown out. It was black. How would anyone find Rahab and her family now? Would God remember Rahab? Crash! Someone was outside. "The scarlet cord!" yelled a familiar voice. "Rahab's house!" exclaimed another. The 2 spies broke through the rubble and found Rahab and her entire family. They were saved. Climbing through the wreckage, Rahab was greeted by the leaders of the Israelite people. "We heard how your courage saved 2 of our spies. Because of your bravery, your family is now part of our family." Rahab cried with joy. God had given her a new home, a new people, a new beginning. Most of all, Rahab had risked everything to believe in the God of the Israelites, and she had discovered God loved her too. Because of her courage, God made Rahab a part of the greatest story on earth. She became the great, 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 great grandmother to Jesus. Do you know what story Rahab came from? The story of Rahab came from a bigger story in the Bible, the story of Joshua. And the story of Joshua is also a very cool story, so you should go back and read about Joshua as well. But for today, we're going to talk more about Rahab. So have you ever played a game of soccer or a game of basketball, and you were having a really good game, and it was getting down to the end, and you wanted to take the game-winning shot, and so you took that shot, but the other team blocked it, and then your team ended up losing the game, and you felt really bad and kind of embarrassed, and you wished you could go back and change it, and then someone on your team comes up to you and says, "Hey, why didn't you pass me the ball? I was wide open." And then you really feel bad because you can't go back and change it, and you can't change the outcome of the game. But you can learn from your mistake. So even though you made a bad choice in that moment, you can take that mistake and learn from it, so that next time you're playing a game, you're going to keep your eyes wide open, and you're going to look for those open teammates to pass the ball to. I think maybe Rahab felt like this, but on a much bigger scale, because she had made a lot of bad choices in her life, and so she was living a not so great life. But she decided to learn from her mistakes and follow God. And she wanted to help the people of God. So did everything just suddenly become wonderful in her life? Did she become a perfect person and everything was just peachy? Well, not exactly, because she actually lied to help the people of God. So she lied to help those two spies. And lying was probably something she did a lot, and maybe she was even good at lying. But does God want us to lie? No, He doesn't. And so she still had a lot to learn. And what about the walls coming down around her? Basically, the world around her was crumbling to the ground. And God kept her safe and her family safe, but I'm sure it was still very scary to have the whole city of Jericho crumbling down around her. So we can learn a lot from the story of Rahab. One, we can learn from our mistakes and make better choices, and God is still going to love and protect us. And it also means just because we're following God, our lives are not going to be perfect all the time. Sometimes we're still going to make mistakes, but we can still choose to follow God and learn from those mistakes, so that next time we make better choices. Wasn't that a really good story? Rahab was so brave. And even though she wasn't perfect, she was still able to help. For today's craft, we are going to recreate a scene from the story of Rahab. And in your supplies, you should have a bag marked with a 26. And inside that bag, there should be a picture of Rahab's house that looks kind of like this. And then also some stickers from the story of Rahab. So if you want, you can go back and you can read the story of Rahab from the Bible, and as you go, you can add the stickers to the story. And then once you get your whole scene decorated, there's a little sticker to peel off on the edge here, and you can curl it around like that, and then you just stick it to the back, and then it'll just sit up. So you can set it on a table or a desk and look at it. So I hope that you enjoy creating a scene from the story of Rahab.
Hey kids, Mr. Craig here. Would you pray with me? Dear God, thank you for our families, thank you for our friends, and for all the fun activities we got to do outside this summer. We're thankful for your love, and help us to be faithful and trusting in you in both the good times and the bad times. Amen.
Hey kids, thanks for joining us for Bible Blast. Hope you had a blast.